So, AI kind of broke the speedometer this week. Basically, in just a few days, we got a secretive new model from Meta, an AI that's too dangerous to release, open source models that work for 8 hours straight, and Google quietly changing how big models even run. Let's talk about what actually matters and why all of this is way bigger than just cool new tools. So first up, Meta just launched a brand new AI model called Muse Spark, and this is a much bigger deal than Meta released another chatbot. This is the first model out of Meta's new superintelligence labs, the ultra-expensive team they built after Mark Zuckerberg basically said, Llama isn't enough. We need something that can actually compete with GPT-5 level models. Now here's the thing, Muse Spark is not open source like a Llama was. Meta brought in Alexander Wang from Scale AI in a roughly $14.3 billion deal, gave engineers giant pay packages, and said, build something serious. This model is the payoff. It's proprietary, it runs as a multi-agent system with a contemplating mode where several sub-agents think in parallel, and it gets benchmark scores that are roughly in the same ballpark as models from OpenAI, Google, and Anthropic, except it still lags in hardcore coding tasks. Meta is going to pipe it directly into Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Messenger, and its Ray-Ban smart glasses over the next few weeks, turning every Meta surface into an always-on AI interface. So you're not just chatting with a bot, you're asking the same brain to summarize your DMs, generate captions, help you shop, and whisper suggestions into your AR glasses in real time. And remember what I said earlier about platform-level AI? This is exactly that. Instead of you going to a website to use AI, the AI quietly moves into the apps you already live in, and Meta is betting tens of billions that if they control that layer, they control the future attention graph. So, if Muse Spark is Meta saying we're back, Anthropic basically said, we just built something we're scared to let out. They unveiled an internal model nicknamed Mythos, and the headline is wild. They say it's too powerful to release publicly because of cybersecurity risks. Now here's the interesting part. Anthropic also announced a separate security-focused system that's insanely good at finding software vulnerabilities, good enough that it dug up a bug in OpenBSD that had been sitting there for 27 years and nobody caught it. That's the kind of thing top human experts pride themselves on, and an AI just wandered in and said, hey, you missed a spot. Anthropic reportedly pulled together a coalition of big tech and security players and promised around $100 million in compute credits to help patch the internet before someone builds a more reckless version of the same thing. Anthropic's answer, for now, is a kind of middle ground, gated preview for Mythos, security tools for vetted partners, and a big public signal that we hit a new line and we're not comfortable crossing it yet. Now let's flip to China. Chinese lab Z.ai just launched GLM 5.1, a flagship open-source model built specifically for long-horizon tasks, basically for being an AI that doesn't give up when the job gets long and boring. So what does that actually mean? GLM 5.1 can work continuously on a single task for up to 8 hours. On the SWE Bench Pro benchmark for real-world software bugs, it hits around 58.4%, which puts it right up there with or even ahead of some top Western models. And the business side is just as interesting. Z.ai is already raising prices for access to its top models by 8 to 17%, riding a wave of demand for these long-running agentic systems and suddenly looking a lot more serious about monetization. Investors seem to love it. Shares jumped double digits after the launch, which signals something important. Wall Street is starting to price in AI that replaces workflows. On April 2nd, Google released Gemma 4, but the big breakdowns and analysis pieces hit this week, and they make it clear this isn't just another small model. Here's what's going on. Gemma 4 is a family of models, from tiny effective 2B and effective 4B versions for phones and edge devices, all the way up to a 31B dense model and a 26B MOE model. Despite those sizes, the 31B model jumped to around number 3 on the Chatbot Arena leaderboard for open models, punching way above its weight versus much larger systems. But the real story is the design philosophy. Google wrapped Gemma 4 around agentic workflows, native function calling, structured JSON output, better tool integration, and long context windows, up to 256,000 tokens on the bigger variants. In plain language, this is an open model that's meant to sit inside your pipelines, not just talk to you, and here's the part that should make hardware people nervous. Gemma 4 runs on Android phones, Raspberry Pi, Jetson boards, laptops, and the cloud, all under an Apache 2.0 license that lets companies use it commercially with a lot of freedom. You can literally imagine a future where your local laptop is running a near-frontier level model that understands images, the video, long documents, multiple languages, and still fits into a personal workflow. This is why it matters. Remember when I said AI is moving from website you visit to infrastructure you stand on? Gemma 4 is Google saying, we want that infrastructure to be open, local first, and deeply wired into tools, not just a chat box hosted in our cloud. Now, speaking of Google, there's a second story that sounds super technical, but is actually huge for anyone who cares about AI costs. TurboQuant is just a new memory compression algorithm presented at ICLR 2026. But what it targets is the KV cache, which is one of the biggest bottlenecks in running large language models. So what does it do? TurboQuant combines two ideas: polar quant vector rotation plus a quantized Johnson-Lindenstrauss transform to basically squish the KV cache down without destroying the model's understanding of context. In practice, Google reports up to a 6-fold reduction in memory usage for that part of the model, which is insane when you're talking about million-token contexts. Here's an easier way to picture it. Imagine your model's memory as a giant warehouse full of boxes. Old approaches said, buy a bigger warehouse. TurboQuant says, what if we rotate and pack the boxes so cleverly that we keep almost all the information but only use a fraction of the space? Same warehouse, more boxes, less rent. And this loops back to everything we've talked about. If memory gets 6 times cheaper, suddenly on-device AI gets way more realistic, and cloud bills look less like a horror movie. Instead of bigger model equals massive GPU farm, we start seeing smarter math equals similar intelligence on smaller hardware. Now let's talk about OpenAI, because they didn't just ship models, they basically showed us their economic endgame. According to a fresh brief this week, OpenAI is projecting up to $100 billion a year in ad revenue by 2030, with $2.5 billion in ad revenue already penciled in for 2026, and an early pilot that hit $100 million in annualized revenue in just 2 months. So ChatGPT isn't just a product anymore. It's turning into an advertising platform the size of a top social network. Think about what that means. In the old world, ads followed your scrolling, feeds, timelines, search pages. In the new world, ads follow your thinking. You ask a question, and somewhere in that answer, an AI is choosing what to show you, what to recommend, and which companies pay to be suggested. That's a totally different layer of influence. And then OpenAI did something kind of unexpected. It released a 13-page policy paper pushing ideas like robot taxes, a public wealth fund, and even a 4-day workweek as ways to handle the economic shock from advanced AI. Sam Altman followed up with a high-profile interview comparing this moment to a New Deal-style restructuring of the economy, all warning that the next generation of models will be a qualitative leap, not just a small upgrade. So you have this weird contrast. On one side, OpenAI is saying, we're going to make ad money at internet platform scale. On the other side, they're saying, oh, and by the way, maybe we should tax the robots, create a national wealth fund, and shorten the work week because of what our models will do to jobs. It's like the same company is both the storm and the person selling you the umbrella. So yeah, this week in AI wasn't just new features, it was Meta rewiring its platforms, Anthropic hitting the too dangerous ceiling, China open sourcing an AI that works 8 hours straight, Google making models cheaper and more local, and OpenAI sketching out an entire robot tax economy on top. If you want more deep dive AI breakdowns like this, Hit like, drop a comment with the story that shocked you most, and I'll see you in the next one.